Here we go. Got the second podcast of the week going for you. I'm looking forward to today as the topics of Rush Limbaugh from 2009, Alex Jones, Louder with Crowder with 15-minute cities, and post-millennials versus globalists on today's episode of the Bill Saying Podcast. So very much to talk about in today's episode of the Bill Saying Podcast, and by the end of it, you'll probably be saying that I am some sort of a conspiracy theorist. Well, I learned recently the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth is about 6 months. After 6 months, it seems to prove out the conspiracy theorists have been right in awful lot lately, and actually they have been right for quite a while now, and that's not me saying that because I've always sided with them. I got a couple of things I want to talk about here today. I'm going to relate Rush Limbaugh to Alex Jones. Some people would say, well, duh, but no, actually they're two very, very different individuals. Rush never dabbled in conspiracy theories, so to speak, while Alex Jones, that seems to be his MO. And that's not to disparage either one of those people. And also, actually, I just want to talk a little bit about, not so much in relation to their conspiracy theories or whatever, but in terms of something that they actually had strongly in common and tells us an awful lot about the leftist agenda, a lot about the liberal agenda, the progressives, the secular movement, or if they're even secular. I don't even know if they're secular anymore. I almost think that there's just a sadist movement going on right now that people that just worship demonic forces are now trying to take over the world. Did I say I'm talking about conspiracy theories at all today? Anyway, on top of that, we have, I listened to Louder with Crowder not too long ago, and he has an episode, I think it's a very important episode, about 15-minute cities and the globalist agenda. And then in relation to that, post-millennialists versus globalists. You might not be familiar with post-millennialists. I've talked about them a couple times. I myself am a pre-millennialist, but I do find them very fascinating. I find their attitudes and their approaches to the world to be very compelling. But post-millennialists, as well as the NAR, the New Apostolic Reformation, versus globalists. And this is real, people. I mean, I am watching this unfold right in front of me, and it is a fascinating thing. And to me, as I've said, we are on the precipice of something big right now, that something in our world is going to change one way or the other, and it all hinges on who wins in this battle. So first of all, I want to talk about Rush Limbaugh and Alex Jones. And Alex Jones is somebody very Rush, you know that I have appreciated Rush Limbaugh for a long time, even after his death. I've gone back, I listened to the episode of the Rush Limbaugh show after Donald Trump got elected in 2016, and it just might as well have written it today, might as well have delivered it today, because it was right on the money, explaining exactly how the media would respond, Donald Trump's agenda. Now, what it couldn't really account for is all these backstabbers that he had in his midst. It may have accounted for that too, actually. I think that he may have mentioned about that as well. But I went ahead and I listened to an episode in 2009, I believe it was January of 2009, shortly after Obama was inaugurated as president of the United States. You know what? I actually do. With Joe Biden, I could not bring myself to call him president of the United States. Since we're talking about conspiracy theory, I have never bought the idea that the 2020 election was legitimate. Never bought it. Never bought into it. You cannot convince me of it. I always refer to, unless I slipped, I always refer to Joe Biden as the guy in the White House, the administration, or something along those lines. And Barack Obama, legit, President Obama. Okay, and back then, in this episode, it would have been shortly after he was inaugurated, so he wasn't President-elect Obama, but he was President Barack Obama. I didn't like him anymore because of that, but, I mean, let's face it, he kind of smoked John McCain in the 2008 presidential election. And so I'm listening to this episode, and as it is going on, Russia's citing this petition from the Democrat Party to silence his voice. Why is that? Well, this is very fascinating because back in 2008, I don't know if it was the end of 2008 or beginning of 2009, but I can't remember if it was Wall Street Journal or what, but somebody wanted him to do an article, op-ed, whatever, and where they wanted to see what his hopes and dreams were for the Obama administration. And he said, and they wanted to give 400 words. He said, I don't need 400 words. I can tell you in 4. I hope he fails. And people were just flabbergasted, angry at him, thinking he was divisive and all these things. And yet, what he was essentially saying is, I don't like socialism. I don't want a socialist seizing the day and taking over our country. I hope he fails. And so they developed this petition against him to try to, I mean, this was a legitimate movement, and they've done it several times to him. Another one was in relation to this young lady that wanted birth control, and he said some comments about her, almost got himself banned for that too, which you shouldn't be banned for those sorts of comments, by the way, because we have free speech in our country, regardless of whether you agree with what he says, how he says it, whatever, as long as he's not calling people to murder people or execute people or attack people, which is happening an awful lot from the Democrat Party today, from the people on the left today, calling for the execution of, calling for the execution and assassination of President Trump. It's happening all the time today from the people that claimed that they didn't want Rush Limbaugh saying, I hope he fails. So that's what we're dealing with right now. Now, Alex Jones, years later. So what is this all about with Alex Jones? They have effectively, for the most part, silenced Alex Jones. Now, when I say silenced, I should do that with like scare quotes, because you can't silence Alex Jones. You just can't silence this guy. He keeps on talking. My relationship to Alex Jones, if you want to call it that, kind of starts back in, probably 2015, 2016, prior to that election with Donald Trump, and people were trying to scare me away from voting for Donald Trump by saying he's in league with this Alex Jones. Alex Jones is a conspiracy theorist. Donald Trump said that Alex Jones is a good guy, and Alex Jones talks about crazy things. And does he talk about crazy things? Oh, you betcha. He talks about some wild, wild things on his program. And I'm not a listener, by the way. However, caveat, he started appearing in other shows, and I've listened to him through them, and wow, he sounds way more reasonable than what the mainstream makes him sound. Even other conservative hosts like, say, Glenn Beck have tried to make him sound like a nutcase, but after listening to him, I have to say he doesn't sound so crazy. In fact, he bears it out entirely. That saying that I said at the beginning of the show, the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth is 6 months. Alex Jones is rolling in the truth right now. And the things that are being revealed are proving him to be on the cutting edge of reporting legitimate news, and the things that the government is trying to... Before the assassination attempt on Donald Trump's life, Alex Jones was on it. He was saying they are going to try to kill this man. And turns out that the young man that attempted on his life was in a BlackRock commercial. And I don't know too much about BlackRock. I think they're some sort of realty firm or something like that. I don't know. I think they deal in realty or maybe investments or something like that. I don't know too much about BlackRock other than they are one of the biggest, most powerful corporations, one of the richest corporations in the world. They have tons of sway, and they are definitely bought into the globalist agenda. And he was saying that they, referring to the left in general, are going to try to have him killed. Lo and behold, not too long. I don't know. I want to say not too long, but after he said that, what happens? Attempt on Donald Trump's life. That the Secret Service kind of had a security lapse, a whoopsie daisy, where Donald Trump becomes like something like a quarter of an inch of having his life taken from him by a gunman, a young gunman. And some report that there was multiple gunmen, and I'm not saying that from conspiracy theories. I'm saying this from reports from people immediately after it happened. Eyewitnesses who were being interviewed by people from the media saying, "What did you see?" And they said they saw the multiple gunmen shooting at Donald Trump. Multiple people said this. So anyway, they're never going to prove that one way or another, because I don't know how you would prove that one way or the other. But eyewitnesses have said that. But regardless, Alex Jones said that. But they have silenced Alex Jones, essentially. I mean, more or less. They want to destroy InfoWars if they haven't done so already. And how have they achieved that? What is the banner under which Alex Jones has been destroyed? They have said that he has caused damage to the families of the Sandy Hook victims. So the parents and brothers and sisters and friends and all that in relation to Sandy Hook, that supposedly he's caused them psychological damage and so forth. How? Because he had somebody on his show that questioned whether or not the Sandy Hook shooting was real or set up or whatever. Now, when I hear people, I never questioned Sandy Hook, by the way. I believe it to be something that was legit, organic, but stands to reason. They have fined him, if I'm not mistaken, over $1 billion for simply having somebody on his show that said, you know what, I think this might have been a job of some sort. This might have been set up by the government, or allowed by the government, or set in place by the government, or didn't happen at all. I don't know. I don't know exactly what he said. Like I said, I don't watch InfoWars, so I don't know exactly what this guy said or even who it was. But Alex Jones had somebody on his program, and so he gets taken to court by these families and probably by other people as well, and is given a sham trial where they declare him guilty before they even have a verdict. And then they basically just try to find out, how badly do we want to punish this guy for making these comments? I mean, it is unbelievable how they're silenced, or trying to silence Alex Jones right now. But it's nothing new. And it's something where the left has learned an awful lot. Instead of taking their time of going through the proper channels, like they tried to with Rush Limbaugh by gathering petition, they discovered and decided that, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's get a judge who's on our side to I don't know, it's called, prosecutes, overhear the case, whatever it's called. Let's get people in that don't want to hear the argument from Alex Jones as to why he's innocent, because he is. And let's just throw the book at him, paint him as a villain, and destroy him. And he was on Tucker Carlson's show not too long ago, and Tucker said, you know what, I've been wondering why they've been trying to destroy you, and I know exactly why. It's because of you not making comments on 9/11, but predicting 9/11. Alex Jones, I want to say in July of 2001, was on the radio. And he literally said, and when I say literally, I'm not like saying it like some people use the word. I'm saying he literally said, I believe it was the CIA and the FBI have devised a plan to destroy the World Trade Center by flying airplanes into it, and they were going to blame it on Osama bin Laden. He said this before it happened. September 11th, 2001. Airplanes crash into the World Trade Center. Osama bin Laden is blamed. I don't know what to think about that, people. I'm not saying I agree with him, but he knew something. And that's frightening. If this was a government inside job, that is horrifying. But I believe it was on It's either Haunted Cosmos or the Tuttle Twins TV show. But I think it was on Haunted Cosmos, where they revealed that there was, and I think it was in relation to Cuba, that, and I believe it was during JFK? It's either JFK or Eisenhower, that the FBI or CIA or both of them, or maybe just certain people inside the military, certain military leaders, were going to conduct a bombing of somewhere in Florida. It's either Miami or Myrtle Beach or something, and blame it on the Cubans. Why? So that we could have a reason to go to war with Cuba. Now, these people were caught and they were fired by the president, whether it was I think it was JFK. I think it was JFK. Caught and fired by him. Now, if it was JFK, whew, that's creepy. What happened to JFK? He was assassinated, right? Very creepy. Like I said, I mean, you can't make this stuff up. And this is on record. Everything I'm saying right now is actually on record. And like I said, it is terrifying. And so what did they do with Rush? They tried to silence him. He didn't have any particular conspiracy theory, but just for speaking the truth and revealing the agenda of the Democrat Party and the leftists. Alex Jones, he didn't just expose the agenda of the leftists. He exposed the agenda of the globalists, community. And my, oh my, he is experiencing the wrath of the globalists right now. Now, Louder with Crowder, they've not stumbled across, but they have been analyzing the state of the globalist movement. And this isn't anything new either, but they see that a lot of the people that are on board with the globalist movement are declaring it to be dead. Not so, says Crowder. In fact, he brought up something that's near and dear to me because I happen to live in one of these communities. He brought up the idea of this 15-minute community, this 15-minute city. And that's the new way the globalists plan to take over. When I'm hearing him talk about this, I'm so frustrated. It's like Donald Trump won the election and he is anti-globalist. He wants to, really, at the very least, he is saying he wants to give power back to the people and take it away from the globalists. And so I'm thinking, what do we have to do to get these people out of our lives? Well, if you don't know what a 15-minute city is, I was calling Findlay, Ohio, a 15-minute city before I even knew what a 15-minute city was. And I was saying in a positive sense, because I was saying, I love living in Findlay, Ohio. Why? Because we have a Walmart on one end of town, and we have a Walmart on the other end of town. We have restaurants on one end of town, and we have restaurants on the other end of town. And essentially, and I literally said this, and my wife has said it too, that you're 15 minutes away, no matter where you are, you're only 15 minutes away from anything that you need inside of Findlay, Ohio. Well, there's been a movement inside of our community to expose that the Findlay, Ohio is supposedly one of these 15-minute cities. And what a 15-minute city is the globalists are designing it in such a way, and I don't know how this happens. And by the way, Findlay has been like this for a while, so I don't know if this is a long-standing thing or what, but essentially to give you everything you need in your own little town so that you don't have to go outside of it to get anything. The globalists, they hate transportation. They hate you being able to travel to different locations, and I don't fully understand why that is, but it has to do with control. It has to do with taking away your freedom, and so that a small group of people can be in charge and in control of everybody. And these 15-minute cities are a great way to make that happen because, it's comfortable community. It's a well-to-do community that people work, they go home, they enjoy their families, and so forth. And one of the ways they're trying to do this, though, is one of the mainstays of Findlay, Ohio, for the longest time has been that it's been a family-oriented and centered community. Well, how do we destroy this loyalty to family over government? Well, the way you do that is through diversity, equity, and inclusion. And by the way, the words in themselves, I don't necessarily have a problem with. Do I like diversity? Yeah, I love diversity. Do I like equity? Well, it depends on what you mean by that. But if you're talking about like people getting fair treatment, yeah, I'm for that. And inclusion. Do I want everybody to be included no matter who they are? Absolutely. but it's got to be on merit. In fact, I would argue all these things have got to be on merit on some level or another. That you got to be playing by the rules. You got to be doing what other people are doing. You can't expect inclusion or equity for that matter, just for the sake that you exist and that you can do whatever you want and be treated the same way as everybody else. No, I mean, your actions have consequences and so forth. And so DEI is actually a program to destroy the nuclear family. Boom, there it is. That's all you need to know. And to make you loyal to the government, to shut down free speech, to be able to work harder to allocate resources to the right people, as they would say. So there's an awful lot inside of this, and it horrified me to hear Stephen Crowder talking about that because, I mean, it shouldn't surprise me, and I to tell the truth, I try to put it in the back of my mind. I mean, the only way to combat this 15-minute city idea and the agenda that goes along with it is through getting politically involved. And that's a hard thing to do. It takes time when you're investing in your family, you're investing in your livelihood. It's very hard to get politically involved. But I guess one of the ways that I can do that is simply by letting you know that this is not something that's a conspiracy theory. This is a real thing. And I see it playing out in Findlay, Ohio today. Now, he wasn't talking about Findlay, Ohio, but Ohio did come up. Columbus, Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio. And he played some sort of a soundbite where they were saying that Ohio is a great place to be able to carry out the agenda of the 15-minute communities. So this is a real thing. And this leads me into the last point that I want to talk about today. And this might be the greatest threat to the globalist agenda. We essentially right now, what I'm seeing happening, again, right before my eyes, is a battle between the globalists and one of two other parties, either A, postmillennialists, or B, people that are involved in some way with the New Apostolic Reformation. Now, I'm not a fan of the New Apostolic Reformation. They got certain bad theological tenets. Now, what I will say, what I don't understand is, as a premillennialist, I believe that we should have Christians getting involved with government. I don't know why so many premillennialists disagree with me, why they think that we shouldn't talk about politics, and why they think that we shouldn't, try to push a Christian agenda forward inside of our community. I don't understand why you wouldn't. Why you wouldn't want Christians in charge of businesses and industries and so forth. Well, the post-mills, they are totally the opposite on that. They are gung-ho. They want to have Christians at the highest levels of every major business because post-millennialism is a different creature. They believe that the kingdom of heaven is going to be, or the kingdom of God is going to be a spiritual kingdom. The 1,000-year kingdom, rather, is going to be a spiritual kingdom where essentially Christians conquer the world through conversions, through not through war necessarily, but through conversions and through industry, through politics, that Christians are going to infiltrate these areas, and that essentially it's going to reign in a spiritual kingdom of God that is a literal or figurative 1,000-year reign. Now, with the New Apostolic Reformation, the reason why I don't necessarily lump them in with postmillennialists is because I don't think that most of them involved with the New Apostolic Reformation, or at least following the people in the New Apostolic Reformation, know that is a postmillennialist movement. And I don't know they even necessarily know they're following people inside the New Apostolic Reformation. And I do see certain things about the New Apostolic Reformation as being dangerous, again, on a theological grounds, particularly in relation to how they view Jesus. That they don't necessarily, it's complicated. They speak out of both sides of their mouth, whether Jesus is fully God and fully man, or if he was just fully man at one point and now he's fully God, or whatever. There's confusion in terms of their language, and also they're responsible for that Passion Bible where they have, where the person who interpreted it actually interpreted based off what they claimed was through the Holy Spirit and not necessarily through the manuscripts. And if you're not translating it through the manuscripts, you're not translating it through the Holy Spirit. So they got some things wrong inside the Passion Translation of the Bible. Tell the truth, what I notice, I don't know. I have not read the Passion Translation. I've only heard of the errors they have made in that, and their defending of those errors as well. But so I mean, you know, to tell the truth, I'm not against these people that are part of these Christian groups getting involved with government. It's something else, and I don't know what to think about it exactly. It is wild. I mean, when you get into the weeds of it, it is an absolutely wild thing to see and to realize what it is that we are watching, because the New Apostolic Reformation believes in what's called the seven mountain mandate, I believe it is, where there's 7 mountains of society that they believe that we need to have control of in order to bring in the post-millennial reign of Christ. Now, or the spiritual reign of Christ, if you want to put it that way. Post-millennialists essentially believe the same thing. And I've even heard them say something about that there are 7, what is the word they use? They didn't use mountains. But they used the number 7 in relation to the 7 areas. I believe they call it the New Dominion Mandate or something like that. And there's 7 areas where we need to conquer, essentially, in order to bring in the Christian world order, more or less. And I'm all for a Christian world order, but again, I'm a premillennialist, and I believe that the age is going to end in apostasy. I believe that I think that we should have as much success as what we can. And so if the postmillennialists are able to have that success and help us to convert people to Christ before the time of the apostasy, fantastic. I think that premillennialists should be just as involved in accomplishing this work as well. But we do need to approach it in a sober mind, knowing that yes, this age will end in apostasy. Not everybody will be converted to the gospel of Jesus Christ. There are people that just don't want to and will not. And so we have to be aware of that. Now, how this is all going to play out, I really don't know. But again, like I said, we are on the precipice of something really, really big right now. Either we are going to see mass conversions of people to Jesus before the tribulation, or we are going to see a globalist world order that's going to bring in the tribulation. One or the other. I don't know which one it's going to be. They're racing to this, and it's going to be very, very fascinating, but I believe it's going to happen really soon. Now, I could go into more of my ideas as to why I think it's going to be really soon. I'm not going to get into that right now, but it really, really, I mean, just by looking at the landscape right now, it really looks like it's going to be really soon that we're going to see the results of, I mean, and again, when she's going to return, I don't know. I couldn't tell you, and if I tried to claim I knew, then yes, I would be leading you astray. So I'm not going to go out on a limb like that and try to say, hey, Jesus is going to return in a couple of years. Nope, not going to do that. Not going to get into lots of the talk that you hear about end times, because again, lots of it's speculative, and I wouldn't be surprised if Jesus surprises us with how it all happens. I mean, we have it inside the Bible, how it's going to happen. But again, we had it in our Bibles how Jesus was going to come to the world too. And we got it all wrong as far as our interpretation and understanding of how he was going to come back. So we need to approach all of this with a sober mind. So, once again, this is the Bill Sang Podcast. My name is Bill Sang. And the song you're listening to right now is by Jay Albright and Otto Mercer. And it's called Down in the Swamp. I believe it's called Down in the Swamp. So I hope you enjoyed the song, and I hope you enjoy your day. Be blessed.
Here with the snakes and gators, down in the bayou land. Black Swamp Blues take me home. Black Swamp Blues take me home. I'm out on a crossroad and feeling so alone. Down in the swamp. cypress tree.